Alright, you're good to go, man.
I don't believe in an interventionist God, but I know, darling, that you do.
Hello and welcome to The Patient Approach. Today we're going to be discussing the topic of inspiration. In particular, we're going to be talking about modern celebrities and how they may or may not inspire us.
Not to intervene when it came to you, not to touch a hair on your head, to leave you as you are, and if it felt it had to direct you, then direct you into my arms, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms.
Hello, I'm not sure who's going to be listening to this. This is a little bit awkward, but this is our first podcast episode. My name's Milo, we've got Oggy, and we've got Moose as well. Do you want to say hello, guys?
Yeah, hello guys.
Hello.
So people can start getting used to our voices, which is brilliant. What we're going to be talking about today is inspiration. So we're just going to be talking about what inspires us, what we find inspirational, what we do when we're lacking inspiration, and just kind of have a general chat about that. So, I don't know who wants to answer this first, but would you guys feel most inspired? Would you
Where?
reckon? Yeah. So like, physically,
Physically.
like location.
I can't give a location, not because it's secret, but I get inspired at the most random times. I might be on the train doing fuck all. I might be just reading a book or something. I might have an idea that just pops into my head. I might be on the toilet just
Just some magic.
going through my phone, and something might pop in my head, and
Right.
it just inspired. It's inspired me. The shower, any time. It doesn't have to be a certain time.
You were going to say shower when
I was
you
going
were
to say shower. Yeah.
Oggy
Shower.
feels inspired in the shower. Tell me about
Shower time.
What's it about
shower
shower?
time is the most epic time.
You
of the
lathering yourself up.
Yeah.
Now you've got that nice.
Yeah.
Just massaging yourself, letting the juices flow.
Shower time is sort of like when you transcend above real life. you go deep into space, and that for me is when I feel most inspired.
Do you use any special shower gels?
No, it's not. It's not the shower.
This
gel.
could be, guys, a good time to get some sponsors. I use Lynx. It's the right. It's the right shower gel to use.
Don't diss the shower time. You know, it's the shower time.
I'm
It
not-
has nothing to do with the gel.
I'm not dismissing it. I'm just trying to monetize this podcast.
I love that. It's like 2 minutes in that we're already trying to monetize it. It's like we're doing this because we want to, and it's like straight away.
We are shameless.
If we can make money, but seriously, links if you're listening. just get a phone call rings, link salesman.
Hit us up, guys. thepatientapproach@gmail.com.
Yes.
Oh, nice. You got that. You got
You got it,
really
spot on.
smooth, man. Really
Spot
smooth.
on.
But that's interesting. So like, Oggy, seriously though, do you actually generally have like epiphanies
I do.
in the shower?
I do. I really do.
That's really cool, man.
Tell me about
The
your
shower is when I have my deepest thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but it's just how it is.
It's like, probably because it's just such a natural thing. You're sitting there just, and it's something you've done your whole lifetime. It's automatic. You're just showering. You're just washing away. You've done it a million times.
Washing
so
away my sins.
That's it. That's a
The
good way
dark
to put
deeds,
it.
the dark things you've done. That's interesting, actually. Yeah, because I mean, because a lot of people sing in the shower as well, don't they? And I don't know. It is if you go to like a website, if you go to like a spa or something, a lot of the time you'll see rain and rushing water, and you know maybe there's something like relaxing about that. Maybe it's not the shower, okay? Maybe it's just water.
I don't know. I'm not having this.
What? It is the shower.
It is the shower time.
All right.
Let's keep
Okay.
it
I'm
that
sorry.
way.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
man. It's a sacred place for you. I'm interested about what you're saying, Moose. Though, like, what you're saying that you don't really have a place. That it's more activities that inspire you, or
Like not even activities. It
Just-
just
it just
might
happens.
pop up. Like last on Thursday, I was dropping my dad off down a pub, and on the way back, I had the music playing on. I think it was The Who, and randomly an idea popped into my head, and it was like, that is an idea that I can monetize. That's an idea that I could grow, put into action. That's an idea that I could do something with.
Right.
And it was just, even if it's the most stupid idea, it's a time when, again, I'm driving. It's automatic. I've been driving for 5 years, so I'm used to it. The brain is not thinking, even though it should be. I do drive well. I follow the law. And,
Stop talking, man. Stop talking. You're just incriminating us. I do drive well. I follow the law. I saw that animal hair in your rims. Man. I saw that child's bike underneath your car wheel.
Yeah, little Billy. But yeah, it's I'm not thinking. It's just something pops into my head, and it might be something that I was told about a week before, and it just comes out of nowhere.
I think that's what I find interesting as well. I'm happy you said that, because like I think a lot of people find that interesting. I've read an article. I can't remember who it was about, but it was about how trying to be creative is like a combination of inspiration and kind of like hard work. But it's weird because like a lot of the time it just happens. Like you can't.
Yeah.
It's hard to like manifest it. It's hard to be like, I want to be creative, or I want to be interesting, or I want to be inspired, and it to just happen.
Because to me, if you overthink things, that's when it becomes like that's when you don't get ideas.
Yeah.
If you're just sitting there, it's all going through your head. It's like a circle, a vicious cycle going through your head.
And that's the thing I think as well. Like that's the thing I struggle with, because I a lot of the time when I want to get anything done, regardless of what it is, I need to be inspired to do it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But like
those are the times when you can't.
Yeah, and that's the problem as well, because it means that when I want something to happen, I need it to just happen.
Yeah.
Like, I very rarely do I achieve something that I've set out to do. Like,
that's it.
Usually I'll have a bright spark in my head, or a light bulb will go off, and I'm like, I can do this. This is amazing, and it will get done. But it's.
And on that note, on those times when I really want to get something done, I found that if I go to sleep and it's like I've been stressing over things, I've been overthinking things, I will wake up and inside my head it's just a lot of shouting. It just feels like there's something trying to shout something when what I need to do is relax, and that's when the creativity will
I see what you mean.
come out.
I see what you mean. It's like if you try and force it, a lot of the time, if you try and make yourself,
it backfires.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. It's not magic. It's weird, isn't it? Because it's so much depends on something that's just like magic. Like you're just expecting yourself to do things, expecting things to happen.
That's it.
It's like, how does, like, I was going to say, some people are probably thinking, no, you put work in, you plan, and that's how things happen. I'm like, maybe that's why I don't get anything done. Maybe it is just, but I don't know, there's a difference between applying yourself and getting something done and having that genuine moment of, this is really
to me
interesting. Do you know what I mean?
This is where the distinction comes from. You have the inspiration, then you have the motivation. You get inspired all the time. You might have an idea, but do you have the motivation to put that down on paper? Do you have the motivation to not just put it down on paper, but follow that path for the next 5-10 years? I might wake up, I might see a painting, not that I'm that sophisticated, but I might see a painting and go, I'm inspired. I want to go paint, but am I getting up the next day and am I going to paint? Am I going to start drawing? Am I starting that technique of drawing? That's
very true.
That's the biggest distinction to make, because the amount of times I've said to myself, you know what, I'm inspired by that, I'm going to do that, and it's just
Absolutely.
one of the many things that I've not done in my life.
Yeah. I can
agree
relate
with
to that.
Go on.
I mean, the other day I came across this website. It was the portfolio of an illustrator.
Right.
And when I was a kid, I used to be really into art. So I used to do a lot of sketching.
You're
You're thinking of what you should be thinking of.
The 1,000 penises. Just for context, people listening. Right, Oggy has when we did GCSE art, right? Oggy was a good artist. I liked it. He was a good artist, right? But a lot of his pictures would end up resembling
unintentionally
end up resembling penises. Or there was one that just looked like
mainly one.
Every corner there was like a penis.
No. Let me clarify. I had to draw a rope. Right. I used the colour brown. There were different shades that I needed to acquire to.
And obviously you've got to do the tip of the rope at a different colour as well.
And
there's a little hole at the top of the...
I got to mention as well, the other time Oggy unintentionally drew penises. Well, he didn't actually draw it. we had to draw pictures of celebrities, and there was a picture of Kanye West. And for
Oh,
some
yeah.
reason behind him, there was
Oh,
loads
yeah.
of...
That was that.
There were loads of penises.
That
with
wasn't
wings.
drawn by me. That
No,
was,
yeah.
yeah.
Oggy didn't draw that, but he brought that in, and he didn't notice it, and he showed our teacher, and she was just like,
and,
yeah.
No,
and
no,
she
no.
didn't notice it.
I think that was
it.
done on purpose, just because, you know, like Kanye West is a bit of a dick.
Yeah,
Probably.
it did make
Nice,
sense. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, going back to what I said,
About
just
you
from
know,
seeing this illustrator's portfolio, I thought, oh my god, what have I been doing? You know, and so I've taken back to sketching,
That's good, man.
and you know what, it's
That's really good.
you know that's a good example of how you can be inspired and you can instantly make a
Kind of
decision.
put into practice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think as well, what's interesting about what you put out there is it's important to just kind of act on inspiration, like when you're feeling inspired by something. I know that I get into the habit of I'll be like, oh, I've read a story, and like I want to write a story about that, or I want to kind of, you know, come up with something, maybe a play or something, or you know, I want to do something that kind of
Relates to it. in
relates
some
to
way,
it, yeah, in some way, and I'll make the goal so big that when I come to it, I won't be able to acknowledge when I've done something good. I think
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you're saying, Oggy, is perfect. Like the fact that you've seen that, you've been like, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to get back into drawing, and you've done the drawing. Like that's brilliant. You've been inspired, you've acted on it, and you've got that satisfaction, and you've achieved something. And I think it's important to have those kind of mini goals, those kind of mini ideas of, yeah, I'm acting on it, and kind of being aware of how that's affecting you.
Yeah,
mean,
I
that's
think
pretty
also the pressure you put on yourself is also very important. I mean, with me, I was just sort of sketching, and I wasn't expecting to be a Da Vinci overnight.
Yeah.
But obviously, with you, if you know you want to write something, you want to write something that's very good.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more pressure in some circumstances
Yeah.
than
And
others.
that's one thing that like I have noticed when someone does get inspired, they immediately go, I want to be Da Vinci. And so having this idea that in 6 months' time, even though it's impossible, they'll be drawing like Da Vinci, they'll be drawing like Michelangelo, carving. Yeah, it's just they got this idea in their head, and it's that they immediately lose their motivation because if it's not going if it's not going in the right direction. Got a quote there from Michelangelo which does.
Yeah,
So
I always
put it
like
into
that. So I
context.
keep forgetting to talk about that. I really like that you've got that
If
up
people
there.
knew how hard I worked to get my mastery, it wouldn't seem so wonderful at all. And
Yeah.
it just shows that the amount of work that goes behind, you know, the behind the scenes. I think
Yes,
that's forgotten a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think I remember hearing about Michelangelo. I think he actually had loads of like draft copies, and whenever he'd finished a painting or a sculpture or whatever it was he was making, he would destroy all his draft copies.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I think he did it because he felt that they impacted on the final product, and like it was kind of like if people knew that it wasn't so perfect at one point, it would seem less wonderful, or something like that as well.
Okay.
So I think that shows as well, like you're saying there, about what you're saying about hard work. I think there's an element of, you know, there's an element of sometimes I think like what he's saying there, the idea that anything great or amazing or wonderful is the result of like hard work and all that. I think maybe can make things seem less wonderful.
Yeah, and like you see now all these faux celebrities like Kim Kardashian. The girl fucked, what is it, Ray J, and she became a celebrity because she fucked him, went all online, and she's rich.
Banged her way to the top.
No, what the fuck has she done?
Literally,
Yeah, she did.
No,
She banged her way to the top.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Big Brother's another good example. You know, you're going on TV to win a set amount of money, and you're embarrassing yourself for 6 weeks of your.
I think as well, what else it does as well, I think, you're right, I think what else it does as well is it basically we see these people becoming famous, we see their process, we see the journey, and I think that element of in terms of becoming inspired and, you know, becoming successful at what you do, I think there's an element of that journey that shouldn't be public. There's an element of that journey that it's not that it shouldn't be public, but that it's you've got to go through a certain process wherein the success you then achieve is important to you in a way that's unique to you. You know what I mean? And I think with a lot of these celebrities, with a lot of Kim Kardashians, with a lot of these people who aren't really famous, they're famous for the process, not for the result.
Yeah.
What we're seeing and what I think what our culture in particular is obsessed with is that process to success. We're obsessed with every stage of the journey.
I would actually disagree there. I think
okay.
that
Go for
they're...
Oh.
Yeah, I know. We did agree about this.
We don't usually do this, guys.
Go for it.
But yeah, these celebrities are all about the result. It's everyone wants to be Kim Kardashian. No one wants to put in the work to be Kanye West. Well, not Kanye. That's a bad example.
Other we just call him a dick.
Yeah. No one wants to put in the work to be Cristiano Ronaldo, Leonardo Messi.
Absolutely, yeah.
No one wants to put in the work, and I think that's what's forgotten. It's the work that you need to put in. It's not going to take you 6 months to be a millionaire.
No, I agree with you.
It's an evolution.
I agree with you. And I think as well, thinking about that, I completely agree with you. And I think it's the work element. You know, putting the work in is, like I was saying, I think it's something that's lost in the world we live in. And I also think it's not necessarily that it's just something that's lost in the world that we live in. I think it's almost replaced success. So for instance, like if you put enough pictures on Instagram, you could get how many thousands of followers.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that's not successful, but can you really say a really like hot person on Instagram is any less of a candidate for success than Kim Kardashian? You can't really, because they're effectively performing the same function. And I think like there's an element of transparency to success now that kind of makes the journey almost more romantic than the actual result. Like I don't think people are as obsessed with, like, there's this really, I don't know if you've heard of Moggy, there's this really alternative hip hop group called Death Grips, right? And they're very controversial. Yeah, no, they're very controversial. They're very interesting, and they've got a very, very like feverish, really like intense fan base. And while I think they're very interesting, I almost feel like their personalities, they themselves, what they're trying to do is bigger than the actual music. I feel like their struggle, their kind of motivations for making music is almost more important than the music. And I feel like that's not just on the, and a lot of people, they are very creative, they are very talented, right? But that takes away from it for me, because I almost feel like they're not about the music in as much as they're about the whole controversy and the fanfare of what they do. Like for instance, one of the album covers had a penis on the front cover with like writing on the penis.
Okay.
Right? And like, you know, a lot of art does feature nudity, a lot of art does feature transcendent themes and stuff like that. But I got the feeling there that a lot of what they do makes them bigger than the music. And I feel like people like Kim Kardashian, people like what Kanye West has become, and a lot of musicians have become, like Beyonce is bigger than her music, you know.
Yeah.
I can't think of other, you know. Madonna's bigger than her music, you know. Kanye West is bigger than his music. Kanye West is much bigger than his music. Like,
yeah.
It's more, a lot of what we do, and a lot of what we, you know, a lot of the media a lot of the media we consume, a lot of the role models we have, a lot of the people we kind of have around us to look up to, or as signs of success, the achievements are lesser than the personality. You know what I mean? The things they achieve isn't as big as the person who's achieved it. And I feel like that's, you know, I feel like Michelangelo and people in previous times where we didn't have social media and all these things, it was the complete opposite. You know, Michelangelo wouldn't be anything if he hadn't done what he'd done. He was made by his achievements, you know what I mean? You know, a lot of authors, 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, a lot of artists, a lot of politicians, they were made by what they had done. People nowadays aren't, you know, people these days aren't, you know, it's not about what we've achieved. It's not, you're not successful because of what you've achieved. You're successful because you're trying to do something. Like, the bar is so much lower.
I watched a terrific Charlie Brooker documentary. I don't know if it's Charlie Brooker.
Okay.
And it said how TV has ruined aspiration, or something very similar to that.
Yeah.
And he was saying on TV you see always people with fancy watches. You know, you've got the adverts for aftershave. There's a guy in a sophisticated suit. He's wearing that suit. He's looking good, and he's got a fit girl next to him, just smelling him or whatever she's doing. And I can't remember my point now, but
you're just talking about how TV's lowered.
Yeah, and then and like they see this and it's like, okay, I want to be that. I want to be that. And it's not. It's not
I
about
get what
what
you're saying.
I
It's not I want to do this. It's I want to be that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's not I want to be successful. It's
I want to be famous.
yeah.
I want to be
yeah,
that
yeah.
person.
It's not I want to be an actor. It's I want to be Brad Pitt.
and
It's not I want to be a singer. I want to be Beyonce.
and in a long-winded way that's probably for another time. It's losing identity of a person.
I mean, what's interesting about that is I remember reading about how in a lot of Asian countries plastic surgery is a lot more rampant than it is in like say England, to the point where a lot of people in a lot of Asian countries, I might be generalising here because I haven't done any studies, it's just a passing article I read, so I could be completely off, but I remember reading that a lot of Asian people will get plastic surgery to look like a specific person.
Yeah.
So it won't be, and I imagine they probably do that. I imagine that happens quite a lot in England, America, Europe as
in
well.
America, there was a
Where-
guy that got plastic surgery to make him look like the Ken doll.
Yeah,
Ken doll.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's very much about being other people.
Oh yeah, I heard about that as well.
And I think it's weird, it's. I think it's weird because I don't think it's inherently. I don't think it's this is the thing. I don't think it's negative to have a lower bar for what for people to aspire to. It's kind of like we live in a world where, for the vast majority of human history, art and politics and history and activities, fun, sports, they were the domain of a very small percentage of people. Like, we've got to be aware of the fact that the vast majority of human history is written by a very, very small percentage of people who participated in it. That's why you read a book, you look at a story, and all, like, homeless people are caricatures. You don't get caricatures of rich people. You get caricatures of the working class. Like, everyone who's poor is a cockney, toothless prostitute, or a beggar, or a very lonely, honest farmer. And the reason for that is because history, art, sports, they weren't created by people from different sections of society. We live in a world now where everybody in every strata of society has a voice. As long as you have a camera, or as long as you have a phone, or as long as you have access to the internet, you have a voice. So I think that's interesting, because it's not bad that the bar is lower for success, because there are more people who can achieve it. I think the problem with that is when it comes to inspiration. It's when it comes to who can I look up to and find inspiring, because the bar has been lowered. So the fact that there are more doors for people from different kinds of environments to kind of be successful, to kind of be famous, be wealthy, that's good. But the problem with it is it's been lowered in a way that also makes it more unattractive. To be successful, all you have to do is haul yourself out on TV, rather than it's easier for this person to kind of become a lawyer from this background. It's not so much it's easier for you to become a lawyer as it is it's easier for you to get money by acting as a lawyer in a porno.
so effectively, what you're saying is that the times now, inspiration has changed from when it was, or from what it was, or what it meant 100 years ago.
Possibly. And even less bigger than that, I just think looking at what it means today to be inspired by someone, or to have an inspirational figure, is for a lot of people, it's we don't have a Martin Luther King for this generation. We don't have a Gandhi for our generation. We don't have a
Nelson Mandela.
We don't have, like,
Instead of these people.
even not as far as 100 years ago. If you just look at the dawn of TV, people who were seen as role models were people who
Represented a lot more than.
that's exactly
nowadays.
it. Who represented something that like, none of those men were perfect men. They all had flaws. They had problems. But the ideas they stood for. I mean, even if you look at the advent of people like Muhammad Ali, where we stopped turning. Muhammad Ali is interesting because even though he was an athlete, he was a civil rights figure.
Oh, absolutely.
And to me, this is where inspirational, or being an inspiring person, is all about authenticity.
Okay, interesting.
Because these people were, they were these boxers, they were these figures, but they were authentic to a cause that, or to their own ideas. That even if it was, they were against a multitude of opposition. Nelson Mandela was against all the white people in South Africa who had far more power than he did, and even though he was thrown in prison, even though Martin Luther King probably went through some horrific things, he was still true to that cause and still true to his cause
Absolutely.
of equality.
I mean, there's quite a disparity between people like Kim Kardashian and people like Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember reading that Muhammad Ali, that people actually asked for him to go to the Middle East and sort of be a good sort of figure and try and stop all of these wars that were going to take place. Such was like the sort of the authority he had as a person.
Yeah.
You know, people really looked up to him.
Yeah.
And he was a guy who represented a lot more than many other sort of modern
It's interesting. Yeah.
celebrities,
Agree,
I guess, or public figures.
To me, on that idea of authenticity, on that same point, okay, the people that have, okay, I read books by Albert Camus. His books have inspired me, and I was questioning when we came up with the idea for this podcast why it inspired me.
Yeah, interesting.
I was looking at the characters of Meursault, of Dr. Roux, in The Plague and Meursault in The Outsider. And the reason why they inspire me is because although the characters may be flawed, I mean, Meursault kills a man. Jean-Baptiste Clements in The Fall, which I've just finished reading, he slept with whores, he drunk till early hours in the morning. He passed judgment down on people. Even though these were flawed people, they were authentic and true to who they were.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah. I like that.
And you think, like, who inspires me now? My granddad inspires me. And why does my granddad inspire me? Because he's honest, he's authentic, he's a good man. He may be flawed. He forgets birthdays. He burns sausages at a barbecue, but at the same time, he's an authentic man.
Burns sausages at the wrong barbecue. Come to the wrong house. I get you though. I think as well. I think that just got unfunny. but yeah, I think as well. Like the authenticity side of things is interesting. So I think it's something that's become. It's weird, because social media really is a gift and a curse. Where you'd think authenticity would become more accessible, because it's harder to hide who you are as a person.
It enhances it.
You'd think so, yeah.
On the contrary,
it's led to it's go on. What are you going to say there?
Yeah, on the contrary, it takes it away rather because you have people.
People take photos of them in situations where, like, that's not really them. I'm at the gym today, but that might have been the first time they've gone to the gym in years.
There's an element of pretense
I think as well, and I think
deception even.
I think as well. One we've spoken about this in the past, but one thing I've seen is, I go to quite a few gigs, right? And last handful I went to.
Didn't invite me, did you?
Or me.
Should
we stop the podcast?
Yeah, okay. I'm done.
This just got awkward again.
Sorry, viewers.
But so you go to your podcast, to your gigs with your friends. Okay, tell us more.
I can't help it. I'm a social butterfly. You gotta let me fly. You gotta let me grow.
Fly, butterfly.
But yeah, though, one thing that I see at every single one is you'll see loads of people with phones up in the air, fucking recording what's going on. And I get it, right? Taking a picture, taking a recording of this famous person or this person that you're, I guess, inspired by is brilliant. That's good. That's fine. But when you're doing it for like song after song, when it's like you're doing it half the night and you've just been still recording, it's
are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying it, or are you doing this to show to everyone?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Are you in the moment? Are you immersed in that, or are you are you being authentic? Are you authentically enjoying the moment, or are you
exactly? Are you there to actually enjoy the music, or simply take pictures to suggest that you're enjoying the music?
Yeah, and I think this ties us round again, where it's kind of there's that disparity between being genuinely inspiring. So, are you being inspired by these people? Are you having a good time? Are you trying to enjoy yourself and maybe to find out something about yourself through listening to this music in this setting? Are you immersed, or are you trying to show off in front of other people? Are you trying to make a recording and pretend like you're this person that you can't really say you are because you weren't really enjoying it in the first place? Do you know what I mean? Are you inspirational, or are you pretending to be inspirational? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm gonna try and find the fact for it, but like I heard that there were more pictures taken in the last year than there were for the rest of history.
Really? How many of those were you, Moose? How many of those were selfies naked?
Most of them were of my penis.
We've got a word for you, man. It's terrorist.
Wow.
I know, right?
Wow.
That was a bit extreme. I don't know.
I have a feeling the listeners won't like you, Milo, just because you've talked about my senile grandpa who's in a home.
Yeah. That was one strike, Milo.
And now it's terrorists. Oh my god.
I'm in control of this audio. I'm just going to censor it. I'm going to take it home and alter it. Or I'm just going to pretend I am now Moose. They don't know. They don't know. They've just met us. But yeah, not the best light. But yeah. What did you want to check for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No. That was just in case I sort of forgot about it.
No, that's cool. I mean, Oggy.
I thought you said, did you want to check? As in, you're going to pay him some kind of money for
what?
The disses.
Oh no. I was gonna say, Oggy, is what inspires you then? Are there any? Obviously, Moose has just mentioned his granddad. He's mentioned his characters in the Camus novels. Are there any characters? Are there any people? Is there any art forms? Any forms of entertainment? Any activities?
Absolutely.
Go for it, man.
Inspiration, like Moose said, can be found everywhere, pretty much. And with me, I find it in literature just as much as I find it walking around town and enjoying the scenery. But getting more direct, I have to say that watching boxing, for example, I watch a lot of high profile fights where there's a lot of pressure. Often a lot of pressure on both guys. Obviously, the example I'm going to give would probably be the Floyd Mayweather Pacquiao fight.
Yeah.
And watching the fight, I watch them enter the arena, the ring, and I'm carefully eyeing them, for signs of nervousness and so on, and watching them sort of go through that and then win the fight. It's very, very inspirational. I mean, I was able to catch a documentary of Carl Froch, and he was on TV, and I watched it, and he was going on about how in some of his fights he was so tense and nervous that he had thoughts of sort of like just abandoning the fight, going home and so on. He had these bad thoughts, but he went in there, he won the fight, and he did what he had to do. So I'm very much inspired by that, just as much as I'm inspired by the various music I listen to and the literature I read. So you can find inspiration everywhere.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Are there any? I think boxing is a really good show. Are there any fights in particular that you've seen, or any fighters in particular that you find?
Well, I mean, in terms of inspiration and being motivated, obviously, when you watch a massive upset, where the underdog, the underdog has done his training and studied his opponent, and gone on to win the fight. Obviously, that's very inspirational. But consistency is also inspirational as well. I mean, obviously, with a sport like boxing, the guy who commits the most is the guy who typically wins. And someone like Floyd Mayweather, for instance, who does something like 1,000 sit-ups a day and all that is quite inspirational to me, because that's
I can do 5.
You should be doing crunches.
Yeah.
You should be doing
I do the
planks and crunches? You need to go to Mayweather's gym and just plank in front of him.
Yeah. I'll teach him how to do the plank. But yeah, consistency of that nature is very, very inspirational. In fact, I'll go further and say that Floyd Mayweather, in particular, because he's so consistent, has actually inspired pretty much a wave of perfectionism in boxing. I mean, everyone just wants to be sort of like him. But going back to the Michelangelo quote, the guy, Floyd Mayweather, he's taken steps and he's worked very hard to get to where he is.
Mm.
You know, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, that's very true. I think I'm not the biggest fan of Floyd Mayweather, but I think you're completely right. The consistency is inspirational, and the hard work, the effort, definitely is very inspirational as well. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Just thinking, then we'll probably talk more about We'll definitely talk more about boxing in another podcast. We don't want it to take up too much of this
We've
one.
got two massive boxing fans here.
Yeah. So we'll go into that in a little bit. But in terms of boxing, a fight that I find really inspirational. I'm not going to go into it too much, but two fights in particular. One is Mike Tyson against James Buster Douglas, and that was considered one of the greatest upsets of all times.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go into massive
Absolutely.
detail, but if you just read the story behind that, I think he was something like a 20-1 underdog or something. It's like no, I think it was worse than that.
Douglas.
Douglas
Buster
was,
Douglas,
yeah. I
yeah.
think it's like it was.
And I think he was.
I'm saying it might have even been like
yeah.
40-1.
And Buster Douglas, I think was it journeyman, wasn't he?
He was a journeyman. Yeah, I think his dad.
Which basically means someone who sort of wins fights but also loses many fights, and it's just sort of there to sort of
they're not supposed to
give
win.
the opponent. Yeah.
There's a fix.
Yeah.
But basically, like,
I'll put money down there.
no, don't ruin the fantasy, man. It's an inspirational story.
Oh, imagine if you'd put money on Buster Douglas,
And then
you'd
you'd
have bought a house.
Yeah.
I mean,
You would have been, if
Yeah.
you put a substantial amount down. Like, I mean, he was a massive underdog, and it was something like he'd lost. I think in the build up to his fight, I think he'd like divorced his wife or something, and his dad had passed away.
Damn.
He had like a lot of tragedy. Like the story behind
that's
it
true, yeah.
is a phenomenal story. Another fight I find inspirational as well is a fight between Evander Holyfield and George Foreman, and I think it was late 80s, I think. And I just found it fascinating because Evander Holyfield at the time, for most of his career, wasn't given credit because people were like, didn't think he could punch hard enough, they didn't think he was big enough to be a heavyweight, didn't think he was strong enough, didn't think he had the heart, and he proved everybody wrong. And that was one of those fights where he had to do that. And George Foreman was obviously 45, 46 years old, very old guy. He'd been proving the doubters wrong for a long time, and it was a fight where Evander Holyfield clearly won it, but both of these men had a lot of pressure from the other people putting their shoulders of not being good enough, and there weren't really any losers from that fight.
So okay. So do you think we as people get more inspired by the underdog, or the story, the amazing story about someone doing something they shouldn't have done?
That's nice because we've got that. We've got the underdog story that I'm inspired by, and Mayweather, who's the overachiever, and Froch and Mayweather, who are like the overachievers in that they've done more than anyone could expect them to. I don't know. I think what makes. I mean,
because
what do you reckon?
Because I can actually see that. Okay, so you've got Martin Luther King. He wouldn't have been inspirational if he was a guy that fought for white people's rights or whatever, you know, or something that had been done for millions of years.
Yeah.
Or however, he was someone that went out and he changed the norm. He did something that no one had done before, and that was get mass support from everyone, you know, whether they're white or black, and turned it into a big movement. And that's a movement that's still being seen today, but he still started the steps. You see it's from Floyd Mayweather. He's doing something that no one's done before. Michelangelo is an inspiration, or was an inspiration, because he did something that was beyond the norm.
Yeah, that's interesting. That
I mean, there are different types of inspiration, but
I think primarily it comes down to you're right. And I think again, tying it back, to people like a lot of celebrities we have today, a lot of people are supposed to look up to today, a lot of famous people, Kardashian, Kanye West, a lot of these people today. I think part of the reason why we're, from what you're saying, not inspired by them is because they haven't done anything that seems particularly beyond.
They
haven't done anything that seems to be particularly, they don't seem to have defied any odds. They don't seem to have overcome any sort of struggle. They don't seem to have really they seem to have faced the same sort of problems anybody would face in the world. There doesn't seem to be anything unique to what they've had to get over. Yeah.
Is Kanye West any better than NWA when NWA created a whole genre?
Yeah. They did.
To get their frustrations out.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. All right then. I think that's probably we'll probably wrap that up there then. Hope you're feeling inspired. Do you guys have any last bits you want to put out there? Anything you want to say before we close this topic?
Oh yeah, I want to apologise for any rustling that might have been. I don't know. This
I
is
can't help
this is
that.
poor, isn't it?
That's just-
Can we redo the ending? It's our first one, guys.
Eddie
First
Russell.
one.
Listen. I can't help it that my balls are so big. They're just waving around.
I can't help it that I've got a boner right now.
Wow.
We just undid it all our credibility. Listen, okay, if this is funny, we'll leave it in. If
We were
not,
doing good up until the very, very last
This
one.
is funny. If it's not funny, if it just sounds amateurish, we're gonna delete this. So you may never hear this bit.
Give us
Exactly.
some thoughts, guys.
Let
If
us know.
if you have any ideas or any comments on this, please get back to us. We will have an idea of what the next podcast is going to be in the next couple of days, so we'll get back to you. If you have any thoughts, if you want to get in contact, please do.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right, take care. Peace you later.
All right.
I don't believe in an interventionist God, but I know, darling, that you do. But if I did, I would kneel down and ask him not to intervene when it came to you. Not to touch a hair on your head, to leave you as you are. And if he felt he had to direct you, then direct you into my arms. Into my arms, oh Lord. Into my arms, oh Lord. Into my arms, oh Lord. Into my arms.